Oh man, coming up next, an interview with the two principals of a rock band that haunted radio in the 70s with this chilling rock classic. This song was written as a spiritual song, actually, but it's hypnotic guitars, it's thrilling percussion, and stirring harmonies. Led to so many urban legends and false narratives about the real meaning of this song. It was unfairly painted as wicked and satanic. Then decades later, it captured the zeitgeist again after its iconic use on a segment from a comedy show. The band had no idea it was being used. They happened to catch this on TV in their hotel room while they were on tour. It became a hit all over again. But today, we're going to get the real story of this mesmerizing rock classic coming up on Professor of Rock. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you've ever spent $40 on a concert t-shirt, you're going to relate to this channel. Diverse interviews and videos on the best of the rock era. Make sure that you subscribe right now so you never miss out. We have some big plans with some massive interviews coming up, and you can help us do even more by clicking on our Patreon link. We give you more content. That's below. So I'm really excited to bring you another episode from our series, Revelations. This is where featured artists reveal rare stories about their biggest songs and their biggest albums. Fascinating insight that you really won't get anywhere else. This show that we're doing today has been sitting on the shelf for a few years. It was part of a TV series that we were developing. We're in the middle of a licensing deal that fell apart when the pandemic hit. It's from an interview that I did with Buck Dharma and Eric Bloom from Blue Oyster Cult on the classic rock standard, Don't Fear the Reaper. Seasons don't fear the reaper. This interview goes in depth and contains history of this song that has never been covered before. When Saturday Night Live used it in their Cowbell skit, the band had no idea. The band tells what SNL got right about it and what they got wrong, and really whose idea was it in this band to use a cowbell in the song in the first place. How they did it in one take. Also, why they dedicate this song to certain people and why they want it played at their funeral. Much, much more coming up. As we go into this song, this interview, I want to thank our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear. The glasses that I always wear. With Zenni, it's cost-effective and very simple. You go to Zenni.com, you pick the color, the shape, the size, and the features you want on your frames. You put in your prescription, and voila, they deliver them right to your door. Check it out at Zenni.com today. Here's Buck Dharma and Eric Bloom of Blue Oyster Cult. Don't Fear the Reaper. It went to number 12 on the pop charts, right in the middle of disco and punk and all these things happening. And it's this song that doesn't sound like anything on the radio. Also went to number 7 in Canada, and the unedited version a year later went number 16 in the UK.
Yeah,
well.
It's funny, it was a hit in the UK a year after it was a hit in America.
Rolling Stone named it the Song of the Year at the time, and that's always been a song that's very dark and mysterious, but at the same time very enlightening. Tell me about the song. I mean, there's always all these urban legends, but from your perspective, the writing of it, first of all, if you don't mind.
It's a love song, basically, about a guy who dies and, comes back to get his lover, because there is something out there, It's not just dust, there's more to it. And that's the idea.
And of course, people taking that and misunderstanding it as a suicide song. I remember growing up, that kind of being out there.
It's the line about Romeo and Juliet. What makes people think it's about suicide.
Romeo and Juliet are together anytime.
But that's the best example I could find of, if there is something, that they're okay, And of course, everybody thinks that there's more out there, or they would like to think that there's more out there. I mean, I have no personal knowledge of what happens when we cease breathing.
I did read an interview that you gave one time where you had said that at the time you were thinking about it yourself, the inevitability of death, maybe if you were to die young or something like that.
Right. Yes, I was diagnosed with a irregular heart rhythm. And of course, you'd think, okay, what if I'm not going to live long or something?
Yeah.
So it turns out I'm still here. But you think about it. I really enjoy drawing breath.
I love it about the syllables when you're talking about 40,000 people a day, and people are like, well, he was wrong about this. Actually, 135,000.
Yeah, whatever the number is.
But you said something that I've heard songwriters talk about.
Yeah, no, it had to sing well. It had to fit in the you know the cadence of the music. So 40,000 worked out.
It's all about syllables, right?
Yeah, and it sounded plausible to me, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Paul Simon, I remember saying that about Joe DiMaggio. You know, he's like, why did you use Joe DiMaggio in the song? You know, why not Mickey Mantle? Because Mickey Mantle is the hero of this time. And he said, it's all about syllables. I always remember seeing that.
Yeah, and Paul Simon's one of the people that I revere as a lyricist. He's really great.
Where have you gone, Joe DiMaggio? A nation turns.
The guitar and the harmonies, very Birds-esque.
And when you touch down, all of times have come.
Were the Birds an influence on you guys?
Yes. Yes, definitely. I think we osmosed just about all of popular music because that's what we grew up listening to. But certainly when we were making our own band, you know, we sort of like fell into that groove, similar to the way that Tom Petty did on occasion. I think Tom Petty was deeper into that groove than we were.
I'd say so.
Well, I want to ask you about the production of it. The distinct guitar riff. Built, as I read, as a chord progression in A minor scale, recorded with Krugman's Gibson ES-175 and run through a Music Man 410 combo amp.
Right.
Is that right?
It is.
Which David Lucas now owns the guitar. Rory owns it.
Yeah, yep.
Friend of ours, Murray Krugman, owned the guitar, lent it to Don to play at the session, and a few years ago sold it to a friend of ours.
Yeah. Well, actually, he put it up on eBay, and Rory outbid my wife that was trying to buy it for me.
I didn't know that.
I love it. Well, your vocals also were captured with a Telefunken U47 mic, right?
You know, I couldn't say.
But that's a good chance.
Yeah, but I know that the engineer on the session, Shelley X,
Shelley.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote an article for Mix about the recording of that song, which probably has more accurate, information than I could recall at the time. But it was one of the Neumann large condenser, microphones. It's either U87 or U47 or U67, I would say, one of those.
Well, now the lead guitar and the rhythm, I heard that was first take. Is that correct?
Yeah, that lead was recorded one take, yeah.
Gosh.
Although that's not typical, sometimes we do it for, quite a few takes.
I read Shelley's notes on it, that it just said that he declared after the first take, he was like, guys, this is it. It's like one of those legendary once-in-a-lifetime grooves. We got it.
That's great when that happens,
No kidding. But then you guys had to edit it down because for radio, because it's the longer version, of course, well over 5 minutes.
Yeah, the bridge had to go.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think anybody really thought of it as an AM hit, AM being, in those days, pop, top 40. So when it started to cross into AM, was when the edit happened, basically.
Do you know we performed that song? The only time we ever lip synced was on Merv Griffin, and we performed that song and we had to lip sync it. and they used the single version, which we never ever played live.
They used the single edit, so we're like caught flat-footed up there.
Yeah, we had no rehearsal. And comes time for the bridge, and we go.
I think we actually laughed. It was funny.
The guitar solo is just incredible. What stands out to you about the production, recording the solo and the rhythm parts?
Agents of Fortune was the first record we made after we were allowed to record elsewhere besides Columbia Record Studios. In the day, they had I guess it was a labor agreement that all artists had to record in the company studios. And after that fell away, we made Agents in the record plant in New York, which is where Lennon was recording and Cheap Trick was recording, and Blondie and Aerosmith. All the East Coast bands were working there, and so that was a whole other access to different different skills and talents and creativity, you know.
Wow.
Jimmy Iovine was working as an assistant engineer there at the time.
Yes.
You know, it was just chock-a-block with talent.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Well, of course, the Cowbell. What's great about this is a song that's had a new life in pop culture with, of course, the Saturday Night Live skit. A lesser song wouldn't have survived. Once the Cowbell thing happened with Saturday Night Live, that would have been the story of the song. But because it's such a legendary song to me, it's past that now. You know what I mean? Because there's some pop songs that when it's used in that moment, that stamps it for the rest of time if that's what it is. But
as
this song
funny
didn't
as
do
the
that.
Cowbell sketch was, that was a worry of mine, you know, that it was going to overshadow the song's original intent, you know, and I'm sort of happy that, you know, that hasn't happened.
Will Ferrell had the idea. He heard the Cowbell and he's like, oh, this is cool. I wonder what this guy's story is. So he comes up with this concept and he takes it 7 times. It gets rejected by Saturday Night Live because I guess Lorne Michaels
I read that, yeah.
They didn't want to take the risk on it, so they put it at the very end of Saturday Night Live. And I remember, because that's where they would put like these skits that they're not sure if they're going to work or not. It's like the second to last skit. I remember seeing it live.
I saw it live.
Wow.
And like, this is brilliant.
We had a rare Saturday night off, and I saw
Yeah.
it live.
Well, let's give credit to Christopher Walken. You know, he
Oh,
he
yeah.
made that happen.
I think there's a lot of ad-libbing in there, obviously.
Yeah.
And Chris Walken especially.
Yeah. And there's some ad libs in the skit that weren't on the shooting script too.
I got a fever. And the only prescription is more cowbell.
Will Ferrell did not wear that shirt until that moment. That's why there's an interview with Larry King where Jimmy Fallon's like, we couldn't hold it together because he comes out and he's got this,
He's got his,
his
spare
belly
tire,
sticking
you know,
out and
Quit being so selfish, Gene.
Yeah.
exactly.
You could see them cracking up.
I know, they're just laughing back and forth.
I'd be doing myself a disservice and every member of this band.
But what's interesting is Bruce Dickinson, I mean, of course, he didn't produce it.
Right.
No.
And he was just the producer on the reissue.
Right.
What does that mean? Never question Bruce Dickinson.
But I'm sure he's enjoying his fame as a result
Yes.
of it.
He is. And what's cool about that is it's opened up a whole new door to other things because I saw in an interview where he said that Iggy Pop, he's worked with Iggy Pop a few times, and he says that Iggy would call him up on the phone and say, hey, I like the recording, the reissue, but could you use more cowbell? You know?
The phrase has crossed over a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sure, that's...
I was reading a car
that's in
magazine.
the culture now.
I was reading Auto Week, and it said this car is pretty good, but it needs more cowbell.
It's on shirts everywhere. Christopher Walken said that's the most asked question that he's had about his career in
Right.
the last
I
20
feel
years.
bad for him about that.
Yeah. As much as the Cowbell skit bedevils us, you know, it's gotta bedevil him a lot more.
They also point to the guy who's singing the song and call him Eric, and it's Buck.
Yeah.
So they get it a little wrong.
Yeah.
Do you mean that, Eric? He speaks for all of us.
And then Alan's not there, the keyboard player. But they got the dress right pretty close, right?
Yeah, well, they
'Cause I've
just
seen some
copied the
pictures.
album covers.
The best was Joe. They got Joe down.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Right.
Horatio Sands plays
is
Joe.
And of course, Gene Frinkle is not a real person.
No, although people would think so.
I've read that people have said, like, my condolences about
Yeah,
Gene.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
right.
sorry to hear Gene passed away.
Whose idea was the cowbell and who played it? Because there are so many stories out there about, this guy.
There were conflicting opinions on
Yes.
that. And it's funny because your memory says one thing, and apparently your memory can be faulty because it's since 76 to the present. It's a long time. David Lucas swears he played it.
4 on the floor.
Yeah. So I will defer to him, even though Albert says he played it. And to my memory, I played it. So I'm going to leave it there. So because I swear I don't remember.
Yeah, we might concur that it was David's idea.
Yeah.
Because usually when we got around to, you know, overdubbing percussion and stuff like that, you know, it was David, you know.
Well, if David says he
Yeah.
did, that's okay.
Right. I don't think I was in the studio when it was recorded, put it that way.
Well, the background vocals, of course, just
Yeah.
legendary. I
Yeah.
love.
And David's on the background vocals.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's that high,
that-
kind of whispery harmony.
That smooth part because
Yep.
he's got such a commercial voice.
What's interesting about the song, like I said, is that that rare dichotomy of enlightenment at the same time as being kind of like dark and mysterious.
You know, I mean, the whole idea of supernatural stuff, you know, it's seductive to me, you know, and I think to a lot of people, you know. The eroticism of vampires. You know?
Yeah.
Seeing the Hammer films of the 60s, you know,
Yeah.
where the voluptuous gals in the nightgowns and stuff, you know, the vampire gals. It's like, whoa, I want me some of that.
Yeah. Using Halloween.
6 straight hours of horror movies. Little Lindsay Wallace won't know what hit her.
It was used in the movie with no one telling us.
Right, yeah, that
Really?
Yeah, I mean, we never found out about the Cowbell sketch till it aired either. No one
Oh
asked you
yeah,
ahead of
yeah.
time. You
Knew
know?
that,
Yeah.
but I didn't know about Halloween.
Someone informed us, by the way, that movie Halloween, your
Right.
song is in the movie.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, the movie was already in theaters before anybody.
Before we found out about
Yeah.
it.
Or even before they'd got clearance to use it, actually.
We called our manager and said,
Yeah.
did you know that, you know, and then let them do the legal stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made the license deal after the fact,
Well, good negotiating position.
I guess. But we didn't know what we were doing then.
I know that John Carpenter in an interview just said that that song was so unbelievable to him. He had the idea before that to use like a happy song for that moment.
Right?
But
Like
he
Judy
said-
in Disguise.
Yeah. At the last second, he's like, no, I've got to use Don't Fear the Reaper.
Yeah. And typically when they insert music like that, they'll just put some song in there as a placeholder, you know, and then whether they clear it for the movie or not is whatever.
Well, I want to ask you about some of the uses in pop culture, because Zombieland, Gone Girl, Scream.
Hey, Billy, would you settle for a PG-13 relationship?
What did you think about some of those references?
Well, I'm always glad that anybody gives a damn, you know, but
Yeah.
but as far as it slots into, you know, shows, you know, thank you, Rob Zombie. Orange is the New Black. I thought that was a great usage.
That was great.
Yeah.
Scrubs, the a cappella version.
Yeah, the acapella version.
I
Yeah.
thought, what the heck?
Yep.
That's awesome.
That was, and that's like going the extra mile.
And The Simpsons and Parks and
Yeah.
Rec.
If I may sing a little bit of Don't Fear the Reaper, I think you'll agree that
I'm familiar with BOC.
leave my friends alone. Whoa, okay, let's settle down. What seems to be the problem? What seems to be the problem? Is there a problem here?
When 6 Feet Under used it, the whoever did that music wrote some additional stuff in there. And there's different instruments, and the instrumental part develops differently. So
YouTube's all full
it's
of
good. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
variety of,
Yeah.
like two girl cellists playing.
Yeah. The song's been covered a lot of times. You know?
Yeah, Goo Goo Dolls. Him. The Beautiful South.
No one's had a hit with it, but I wish somebody would. But you know,
I like the Mutton Birds version from Frighteners.
Yep.
How they use that as well. That was pretty cool.
I think my favorite cover of it as a cover is Big Country's version.
Red Hot Chili Peppers, I mean, that's pretty cool. When Will Ferrell played the cowbell on it. When Stephen King is influenced by it, you know that you grabbed that haunting feeling that you were looking for. I mean, when
Yeah.
he starts The Stand with the lyrics.
Yeah, well, he's up on pop culture, certainly, you know. And in fact, that's one of the greatest things about his writing is how he makes, you know, his particular horror scenarios plausible by weaving in all these cultural references that everybody, you know, identifies with.
I've talked to a ton of bands that their music was influenced by the book The Stand, and Stephen King's book was influenced by you. I mean, that's pretty cool.
We're flattered how, you know, that all our stuff ripples out into the larger culture.
Yeah.
You know, it's a nice validation of having done something.
They're like that Tom Cruise science fiction movie where, you know, they're riffing through after the last war, he's riffing through the albums, and it's one of our records is one of the few he's got.
Every generation understands this song. My kids have found it, and they're like, Dad, did you ever like this song? That's when you know a song is a great song. I mean, my own dad had the record. I listened to it in high school and was trying to figure out what it was about. Now my kids are. That's incredible to me. I've read that you've even said that maybe you'll play that song at your funeral. What's the legacy of that song to you guys at this point?
Yeah, well, I hope it's, it turns into like a nice send-off for the baby boomers, or anybody. I never think of it as morbid, although it is. But
Although on occasion, if somebody recently passed that we knew or liked or revered, we'll dedicate that song on that night to that person.
Yeah.
Like we just did it for Burt Reynolds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we'll do that. It's like a send-off.
I think it'd be cool to hear it at a funeral. Never have, but there's always a first. Leave us a comment about Don't Fear the Reaper. What is your interpretation of the 70s classic? What are your memories when you first heard it? What do you think of its use in Halloween and SNL and pop culture? Let us know in the comments. Let's have a great discussion about it. If you enjoy our content, love for you to take a second, subscribe below. That way you never miss out on any of our daily videos or our interviews. We'd love to have you as part of this community that we're trying to build to keep the music alive. That's the idea. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth.